everything to do with it getting going. And he passed away 3 years after that. I actually got lucky enough to replace him. But that's kind of the way I woke up this morning, and the way I feel right now is the word lucky. Everybody in this room, you are lucky to be from Radford. You are lucky to be a Bobcat. And you are lucky to be together again in this auditorium that many of you grew up in and have gone through different ceremonies. Amen. The one thing that is amazing about Radford is that pride has been passed down from class to class for a long, long time. And this Hall of Fame celebrates athletics, but it's all-encompassing. We have people that never played an athletic sport at this school that are in this Hall of Fame because of the heart and the way they contributed to the school. We have some people that are maybe not the best athletes, but they were the ones that got it done, got the recognition, and went on to be special athletes at the school. And then sometimes, if you look at this list, as you look at this program, there are some incredible, absolutely amazing athletes that have come out of this small city that we all love. So with that said, it is a ceremony. You're in Radford High School Auditorium. And so those that can stand, if you will please, and we're going to say pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I flash back to McCard, where I learned that. What a special place we are. All right, our first inductee, and I want to go ahead and let everybody know that our first inductees are on the clock. They are recruiting and are going to be leaving us, and they'll be able to watch the rest of it on video. But it's very special that you kind of understand and know that these guys, right after being inducted, are going out and trying to do Radford University proud. So the first inductee is Shane Warner Nichols, class of 2002. And as you see, both he and his brother are being inducted today into our Hall of Fame. Their wonderful friend, our wonderful friend, Lamar Martin, will do the introduction. Lamar.
Such a great honor to be here, to see all you guys' faces here. Just like Coach Davis said, Radford, man, small town. I remember Coach Lindbergh used to tell us it's a 9-mile radius, so you should be able to walk from one end to the other without no question at all. But it brings to a point to family. And when I think about these two young men that I'm introducing today, I think about the family, think about the grind, think about the workload. And some of you young guys that's here now, I would ask you to ask them what they did to make it to where they are now. All right? A lot of times, a lot of nights in the gym, early morning time in the gym to be where they at now. The great thing about this, they're back home. And we've heard this over and over, welcome home. So welcome home, Shane and Darius. Both of them, when they asked me to do this, man, both of them got a resume that's long as I don't know what. So I'll start with Shane, because he played with me my senior year. We made it to the state quarterfinals, and I was telling Coach Cornby, I played around with Shane a couple months ago. I was like, man, you didn't make a shot in the state quarterfinals, man. And this is a guy who can shoot the ball really, really well, you guys know. And, we talk about that all the time. It's like, man, you didn't make a shot at all. And, but it was just, to be fun and laughter at the time. But his resume speaks for itself. Over 1,800 points here at Radford High School. All state junior, senior year. Rated amongst the top 15 of the state of Virginia. That by itself is unbelievable. Then he was able to go to Radford to where he was very successful there as a player. Come back to coach there under Mike Young. Then leave off to be an assistant coach at Hospital. Niger, was a coach there as well. And through them, both of them colleges right there, man, both 20-plus wins there. So for you to be assistant to go to these little small programs and still make an impact, it speaks for the type of work that he does. He was amongst the 50 mid-major coaches. He was a great recruiter, still a great recruiter now, one of the best. I had a coach hit me up the other day saying, man, I saw your boy, Shane, man, up in the same area where I was at. And I told him, well, I hope you got the kid, because if you didn't, Shane was going to grab him. So with that being said, to lead to where he's at, where he is before he came to Radford at Murray State, you all know that he was a great influence on John Grant, who was the Rookie of the Year 2020. Shane may have helped that program win 3 regular season OVC championships, 2 conference championships, and lead them to the NCAA tournament a few times as well too. With that being said, in the midst of all that, man, he became a dad's girl to his daughter, and his wife, Jamonica, who's not here, but is a husband to her as well. And now he's here at Radford University with his brother. And I don't think the odds of that happens often. You know, to have to come home to be with your brother and to be here in the Radford community. So with that being said, I'm not gonna hold the time. I know they got something to do. Please welcome Shane Nichols.
Checks in the mail. First of all, I want to thank the Hall of Fame committee, everybody on there. Appreciate the opportunity. I'd like to thank my parents. My dad's here. My mom is back with my daughter. I'd like to thank my wife. She just had surgery, so she couldn't be here. My brother, all my coaches, Coach Cormier, Coach T, really had a big impact on my life. When I got the call that I was getting inducted to the Hall of Fame, I started reminiscing about my career here at Radford. I just thought about all the ups and downs, the highs and lows that occurred over those years. I remember 8th grade, knowing that I was coming to play varsity basketball, and I was like, man, I got to get stronger. My dad and Coach Corman was like, hey, you got to get in the weight room. So every morning that summer, I was in the weight room at 6 a.m. I remember my sophomore year, the game that Lamar was talking about, state quarterfinals down at Virginia High. I thought I hit a couple shots. I don't know, but I had the last shot of the game, and I just remember it hanging on the rim for at least a minute, I thought. And that still bothers me to this day, because I was wide open with the chance to go to the state semifinals. So, I just remember that low. I remember my senior year, being able to team up with my brother, and how we pushed each other to be better. We stayed in the gym. That was a time where we had stopped fighting each other, so we were working out together. But I remember those times and how great they were, playing alongside him. I remember one time we were about to have practice, and my dad probably doesn't remember this story, but I remember I was supposed to have a math tutor one day, and I didn't go. And, small town, Radford, small community. He found out, just like that, right after school. And so he caught me before practice, gave me a few choice words, which, if you know him, he doesn't really say, so I was nervous. And I don't think he let me practice that day. But, I thank him for that, because he held me to a higher standard. He made sure that I was always doing the right things. And so I remember that, and that kind of hurt, because I couldn't practice and play the game that I love. I also remember my junior, senior year when my brother came. Coach Cormany knew how to get under our skin, so he would call us every morning and say, while y'all in bed, somebody else is working. And, he knew that would get to us and we would be, fired up. We'd have 2 or 3 workouts that day. So he did that every morning, and, I thank him for that because he knew how to get under our skin. I also remember my senior year at Marion. We were playing George Wythe, who was a rival in the region championship. Intensity, emotions are high. Coach G's gonna kill me for this, but so Coach said, "Hey, can I get this pencil sharpened?" And so Coach T goes and finds one, comes back. And this is intense now. This is right before the game. Everybody's worried about the game. And he says, "Rick, I found one, but it ain't got no handle on it." And it was an electric pencil sharpener. So the whole team busted out laughing. It kind of took the edge off of it, and we went out and played. The first quarter was tied, I remember. I don't know what happened. I guess I blacked out. I scored all 21 points of the second quarter, and the game was over. We won the championship against our rival, George Wythe. I also remember my senior year playing in the state semifinals down at Radford University, and losing that game to Council. That was hard on me because I felt like I couldn't get it done for our community or school. It just, everything made me think of how much it meant to be a Bobcat. And that still hurts me to this day because that's how much being a Bobcat means to me. So I always think about the highs, I always think about the wins and the losses because it makes the wins feel that much better. And so I appreciate it. Thank you guys for this win today.
You all know I do a little radio, and I'm louder on this than you. I was gonna, I might have to. Anyway, I got Coach Cormany and over at the radio station with my friend Rick Watson, who does the Big Dog Sports Talk. And you all know I did radio for the Bobcats, and that's where I met Rick, and it's just turned into a really good relationship. And I said, hey, look, I want to let these guys know they can make it to the Hall of Fame live on the radio, and I got Coach Cormany to do that. And I thought one of my memories of that is that we started talking about shooting, and Shane, was asking, who's the best shooter? You, your dad, or your brother? And Shane didn't hesitate. Me. They're not going to beat me. Anyway, what's also amazing is that when I was going through the record books, I couldn't find out exactly how many points who scored between both of them. And Shane was like 1,903 on the dot. I think that's it. And his brother goes, I was 2004. So it was pretty impressive. Anyway, now Lamar Martin back on stage to introduce Darius Nichols.
This guy here didn't have the opportunity to really watch him grow here as a basketball player. I remember a time that I did go down to the rec, and he was playing rec. I think Richard Delaney might have been you guys' coach at the time. And I was watching Coach Nice, Coach Davis, dribble the ball, and I said to myself, this looks too easy for him. I mean, the dude is really smooth, really laid back type of guy, and couldn't get a word out of him. Couldn't get a word, wouldn't say nothing. And I was like, was he ever going to say talk trash or anything like that? But he never did. And I bring that point up too because Darius is a laid back type of person. You could tell him that if he was ranked number 1, that doesn't mean anything to him. He cared about the game. He wanted to work on his craft, and that's what he did. And his resume speaks for itself. You're talking about a young man that left here that had over 2,000 points like Coach Davis. He was still in the sophomore. Ronald Times Player of the Year. Left here, went to West Virginia, made an impact at West Virginia, was recruited by 2 amazing coaches, and from that point there, when he started coaching, man, he had another impact on colleges as well, like his brother. The thing about Darius that I admire the most is when you talk to him about young youth, young kids, it's all about life lessons, what you learn, what you're able to teach. And that's what he gets the joy at all of this. Showing these guys what it takes to get to the next level and preparing them for the next level. And if you think about this, I call them 3 to 3 amigos because Coach Cormier is greater than us. And now look at them now. You know what I mean? So hand in hand. Wonderful. He was at Hofstra. I mean, not Hofstra, but he was at Louisiana and Tech, right? And Northern Kentucky. Both 20 wins there while he was there. He was, they took Northern Kentucky from a D2 program to a D1 program. Ranked ESPN top 40 coach. That's huge by itself. Had a wonderful, wonderful year at Florida. 6 years. Was at Florida University. That's you talking about a SEC program that always goes to the tournament every year. He had a big impact there with them, training some of the players that went to the NBA. Cheese, I think his name, was one of the guys that went, and Devin was another guy that he helped coach as well to prepare for the next level of the NBA. When I got the phone call, and wasn't a phone call, everybody knew before it happened. But when we found out that he was going to be the coach here, I think it was a spark in the city of Radford. I think it was a spark in the city of Radford that everybody has been waiting for. And we're excited for the opportunity for him and his brother to be here and lead Radford University. It's something special. When you think about Hall of Famers and they're inducted here, it doesn't stop here for them. This is not going to be the first time we do a Hall of Fame for either one of them, I don't believe. I truly believe wherever they land at in their career is going to be another Hall of Fame. So we're going to be doing this again, so prepare yourself for it. With that being said, I can't forget his wife, Courtney. She's a tremendous friend to me. When I came down to Florida when he was coaching there, she showed me all different types of plays, showed me nothing but love. And I just had a wonderful time with them down there. But it's always been a great friend to me. We're now like more brothers than anything. So for me to be up here to introduce them, man, they had faith in me, and I appreciate it. And without nothing else, Darius Nichols.
I was a little nervous going after my brother because I thought he would still lie the story since we're so close. But he only took one, and that's the 6 a.m. story about Coach Cormier calling us every morning and leaving a voicemail. So that was before cell phones. So he was calling the house phones on that, and it's ironic because when I was inducted to the Hall of Fame, when Richie said it was announced on the radio,
I was going to get up and listen to Coach Coleman speak. He was like one of the earliest ones. I think it was like 7 a.m. or 7:15. I was actually asleep. And so that flashback of that 6 a.m. phone call they used to make, I was like, I'm gonna hear it now because I didn't get the word that I was inducted or being inducted into the Hall of Fame. But I just want to thank the Hall of Fame committee, especially you, Richie, for the tremendous job you've done so far with this. And it's just special being inducted to the Hall of Fame with great people. People that's helped me get to where I am with my brother and Coach Cornyn. So I got two of my players right here, and I really appreciate that with being here. Kyrie Walker, Ray Williams, my wife, Courtney Nichols, my father's here, and I was on my team. I think it was last week, and they can probably tell you more after this, because we have 6 program standards. And I said, some of you guys can remember every lyric to every song, but I need y'all to know these 6 program standards, because these program standards that I came up with are things that this community has helped me with growing up as a child. And so, the first standard is be prepared. I thought about being on time. Sometimes you can be on time and not be prepared. So the preparation that I saw growing up, I learned from my brother. I was a little more athletic than him. I was like, he knows that, but a little more athletic than him. But I saw his work ethic. I'm 2 years younger than him. I saw him getting up at 6 a.m. Some days I didn't go. And then once I saw the success that he was having, that he put into work, that taught me a lot. And the preparation that, Coach Cornyn, my dad, my mother instilled in me helped me when I got to college. So that's one of the program standards that I learned that's helped me get to where I am. And the next one is be flexible. That's one of our program standards. We say that a lot. And I remember in high school, my dad got me and my brother, because we're 2 years apart, he got us a car. It was a red car. I don't know what kind of car it was, but it broke down once a week. So if it did break down by Saturday, I knew we were done Sunday. So our foster brother, Jermaine, we didn't have a stereo system in it. So he used to get a boom box. And we would play the music in the back of the car. So with that car that he got us, that taught us to be flexible. And then we were riding through this park when they put that tunnel in there, the stoplight. And the car rear-ended us. And then at first we were upset we didn't have a car. And then what the lesson was is that we got a better car after that. So we learned how to be flexible with that. And another one is tell the truth. And my guys are experiencing that now in this community, because it's a small community, so words will get out. So, I tell this story a lot, and you guys probably have heard it, is, me and my brother playing on the train tracks. So we're playing on the train tracks one day, and my dad comes home from work and eats lunch. So we were playing on the train tracks sometimes, so then we came home, and then, the conductor or whatever, the guy at the train station said, "You boys better stay off the tracks. I'm gonna call your dad." Me and Sammy looked like, "You don't know my dad. Like, we're not worried about this stuff." So then my dad comes home. He says, "Y'all stay off the train tracks." I'm like, how does he know that? So like in a community like this, and my guys are experiencing it too, it's important to tell the truth. So, Ray Sean, he was at the Bazaar. He was at the Bazaar, right? He was at the Bazaar eating. Whitney King and her mother, they came up and said, "We saw one of your players at the Bazaar." I was like, "Okay." And they said, "He was so nice, he held the door open." So I'm trying to figure out who it is. So I said, "What do you look like?" They said, "Oh, he's tall, he had a South Florida shirt on," so Ray Sean's a transfer from South Florida. So I put it together. So I put it in the group chat and I said, "Who was at the Bazaar a few weeks ago?" So none of them wanted to confess. They thought it was crazy stuff, I guess, I don't know. And then I said, "Well, one of the girls I went to school with said you made her grandmother's day." And then Ray Sean said, "That was me." So, in a community like this, you have to tell the truth. Another one, no excuses. You know, I never heard my mom and dad make excuses. You know, my mom, she worked 2 jobs, my dad worked 2 jobs, never heard them complain. I mean, I'm sure they wanted to or they played in their head, but we never heard it, so we never learned how to make excuses. So, you know, I appreciate that. Appreciate them for that. Eye contact. That's another one. Learned that from Coach Coleman. Like, if we're in practice, you don't have eye contact. I don't know what the punishment was. I think it was called, y'all can help me, 5 or slides or something. But we need, what is it? Fellowship. Let me change the name. Fellowship. I'm going to change the name. So yeah, we learned that from early age, and that is carried on in our life and helped us be successful. And the last program standard we have is protect each other. And I'll share this story. And I wish he could be here. I told him, you guys know Mary Dobbins, who passed away a few years ago. She basically helped raise us along with my parents and the community. Well, she raised a lot of people in the community. We all know that. I remember, you know, my dad used to drop us off over there, and we would hang out all summer, all day, or whatever. And I'm not gonna say his name. He's not here, but so we used to be on a bike all day, 4 foot, just riding around the city, you know, doing stuff kids, I guess, used to do. And we went by Sunset Park. Y'all remember they had a little store over there. I hope nobody's family would own that store. But one of our friends went over there, and Mary Dobbins, what she used to tell us every time we left the house, y'all take care of each other. Y'all take care of each other. Y'all stay together. So that's where I got the one program standard, protect each other. So our one friend decided to go in the store. We all went to the store. Our one friend went in there. So he decided, I don't have any money, I'm going to steal something. So we didn't know he was stealing. I'm going to throw it out there right now. We didn't know he was stealing. So he's walking out, and then all these like little Debbie cakes fall out. So I'm thinking, oh man, we're thinking, me saying it to where, I'm not going to tell you the guy who it was. Me saying it to where I'm thinking, man, we got to get out of here, we got to leave this dude. But then Mary Dobbins kept saying, protect each other, y'all take care of each other. But I told my team the other day, I said, protecting each other doesn't mean you don't hold them accountable. You know, so after that, we're like, you know, we can't hang out with Taryn that much. I slipped and said his name. But, you know, those lessons, I'm proud that I'm here, and the impact that I can have on my players. They're starting to see that. I was driving home, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I was driving home, I passed Miss Andrews, my Spanish teacher, Carolyn Andrews. So I'm talking to her, she says, I saw one of your players at church the other day. I said, which one? She said, I don't know, he's tall, light skinned, he's always smiling. I said, oh, you're talking about Lou. That's Lou. And she said, yeah. So I called Lou. I said, Lou, you was at church the other day. He was a Calvin, you know? He was like, yeah, how you know? I said, my Spanish teacher told me she saw me. And so I think a lot of times they think that, you know, I'm spying on them, but the community is so small, and that's what made an impact on my life, is that people in the community outside of family, Coach Cornby, all these guys help you, hold you accountable. And that's what I've gotten from this community. That's why it's special to be back and be in the Hall of Fame. So I thank you guys.
Lamar, appreciate you calling me coach. Yeah. I saw Lamar up here and I said I haven't really seen him since I was yelling at him a whole bunch. It's kind of fun. All right, so last night, some of you were hopefully in attendance for the Bobcat football game. And if you recall, Bobcats got off to a great start in the first quarter. And then as the second quarter stopped and they honored one of our great athletes, Elliot Grayson, for winning the state championship in the high jump. The game started the second quarter, and the clock didn't start. And you can see the refs, after the first play trying to tell whoever's operating the clock. And I started thinking about Guy Gilmore. I was like, well, I'm waiting for Guy Gilmore to go up to the press box and start the time for the second quarter. So when everybody was introduced last night before the game, I did have an opportunity to edit some of the words that were said as they were introduced to the Bobcat football game. And when it came to Guy Gilmore, everybody's there, and I'd gone to the press box to make sure they had the script, and then I came back down, and I was standing, on the edge, just in the crowd. And these were the words that were said, and I want you to know that as much as they clapped for everybody up here, including Coach Cormany, I thought he got a whole lot of claps. I think the loudest and the most appreciative that the crowd was for what I said here. Guy was raised a Bobcat, raised his kids as Bobcats, and has basically raised all the children of Forest Park as Bobcats. And everywhere I was, everybody just stood up and loved that. Anyway, to introduce Guy Gilmore, an incredible contributor to our school, his son, Chad. Like I said, they have to go recruiting, and so the Nichols and Lamar are leaving us. If anybody's got to leave with them, go ahead. All right, Chad Gilmore.
All right, good morning, Bobcats. Think about that, Bobcats. Everybody in this room is a Bobcat, right? You either went to school here or you're connected to someone that went to school here. 50 years. That's why we're here. 50 years. A lot can happen in 50 years. You're born in Radford, but you said that, you're a Bobcat, right? Graduate from Radford High School. You graduate from East Tennessee State University. Begin a career at the Radford Army Ammunition Plant. Start a family and welcome grandchildren into the world. Those are all great accomplishments. They all require dedication and devotion. 50 years in the press box as the Bobcat football clock operator. That's another great accomplishment. Guess what that required? Dedication and devotion. So on behalf of his wife, Donna Gilmore, his daughter, Laura Robinson, her husband, Mike, their children, Kyle, David, and Hope, son, Chad Gilmore, my wife, Annette, our sons, Hunter and Clayton, I am proud and honored to introduce to you today Guy Gilmore, the 2021 Radford High School Hall of Fame inductee.
Y'all gonna have to give me just a second. I don't know how to follow that. I was looking over my speech last night and this morning, and my grandson David was looking at it with me. And I had written down a few words, and he said, "Pops, you need to say, I am honored, not honored, but say, I am honored to be inducted to the 2021 Hall of Fame." What an honor. I can't express the honor that I received from this. First of all, I'd like to thank Richie and the Hall of Fame committee. Like they said, we started this in 2008. And you guys have carried on a great legacy. It's unbelievable that you've carried on the Bobcat tradition, the legacy to you and your Bobcats. Because, like you say, we're a small town. Small school, small town, but boy, the pride that continues year after year for Radford is unbelievable. And that's all part of what the community is about. Second, I'd like to thank my family. Like Chad said, 50 years, gosh, you went by in a flash. You turn around and bam, you're an old man. You're a grandfather, 50 years went by in a hurry, but enjoyed every minute of it. So to my family, I thank y'all for the sacrifices y'all made. I mean, I was up here at the high school Thursday nights, Friday nights, and then for 25 years, I even kept the clock for the girls and boys basketball. Right? And I kept it a couple years, I think, after Coach Coleman came. But then it just got with my work and all, it got too much, so I had to make sacrifices. So I gave up the clock for the girls and boys basketball. And last of all, I'd like to thank my co-sponsor, Don Boggs. To me, Don was the voice of the Bobcats. He and I were probably at least 35 years in the press box and probably 20, 25 years on the basketball court, because he announced all the games and all. So we, with him and JoJo keeping the book and me on the clock, it's memories you just develop for a lifetime. You never change that. And I thank all of you guys for the impact that y'all had with me and the good times we had. Good memories, bad memories, but they were all good memories. Forget about the bad, carry forward the good memories. And I thought it was kind of odd when I got notice that I was going to be inducted, that 3 of the inductees are basketball. But I spent 50 years keeping the clock for football. Well, I got to tell you, Coach, my heart's in basketball. And I got to go back and thank JoJo's here. He and I kind of played basketball together in high school. And I think that I graduated from Radford in 1961. And I obviously didn't make this auditorium. We were in the old high school. Didn't make this auditorium, but graduated 61. And I think JoJo and I played on the last undefeated JV basketball team, which was in 58-59 season. I tried to check the records, but I couldn't find that. You were talking about the championships that Coach Coleman won, and I'm sorry I was too soon to get to you, Coach, but JoJo and I enjoyed those years. In fact, basketball was my heart. I love basketball. Got to go to college and play a couple of years of basketball at Milligan before I transferred and graduated from East Tennessee State. But basketball was my pride. I enjoyed it. And like I said, I spent many years. And also, if you look in your program, you'll see that our coach in that undefeated season in 58-59 was Coach Denny Hammond. And he was our coach. I need to tell you just a little bit about how you think about how does anybody ever get into keeping the clock? Well, I had a neighbor of mine that lived right below me. His name was Don Wilson. Don was a Virginia high school league official. I'd been out of school a couple of years, and he lived right below me. He said, "Hey, I need some help next Saturday. I'm officiating a scrimmage at RHS, and I need somebody to help me keep the clock." And I said, "No, I don't want to think about keeping the clock." He said, "Oh, it's easy, I'll help you." Okay, Don. So I come up and keep the clock, and I kind of enjoyed it. Back then, when you started, all high school officials, even clock operators, had to take a test to get certified to be a VHS high school official. So I took the test and passed it, believe it or not, and got everything ready. Believe it or not, my first game that I kept the clock for was the first game that we played on then RHS field, which is now Norman G. Lindenberg Field. So over those 50 years, I have seen a lot of great football teams, a lot of great teams come through, 71, 72, obviously the highlights of, everybody likes to be on top. And those were some great years, but you saw some kids grow up that really didn't have the talent, but they gave 100%. And that was the pride of the Bobcats that came through for all those years. So I enjoyed seeing that. I enjoyed participating in that. And I guess really for 50 years, I was really blessed in order to keep the clock for football and do everything to support the Bobcats. I guess really that was kind of my way of being, hey, I'm a proud Bobcat, and what can I do to help my community, my school, and I can kind of serve doing that. And that was what I enjoyed doing. I heard once someone said, if you enjoy your job, you never work a day in your life. And that's kind of what I feel like for the 50 years. I enjoyed doing what I did. Again, I sacrificed the families, and I thank them for what they gave up for me. But I appreciate the opportunity that I had to do that. And you think back about all the 50 years, and you think about all the good memories. And it's hard to pick one good memory because there's so many good memories you don't want to hurt anyone. So I'll say for all those 50 years, I had great memories. Enjoyed every minute of it. The players, the fans, the coaches, even meeting with the Virginia high school officials pre-game. We had all those, and I enjoyed those, and I appreciated those. And I guess to all of them, I am sincere, thankful for that, and I thank you. And I'm very very grateful to be part of this 2021 Hall of Fame induction class. Thank y'all for coming.
So we're at the halfway point, and we have a video. Pat O'Mara, who's being inducted, could not be here, but he was able to put a video together that we requested him. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this podium and maybe if we can dim it a little bit.
Hi, I'm Pat O'Mara, and I'm excited to be part of today's celebration. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to be part of it in person. My daughter has a high school homecoming, and my son, who's a freshman down at Miami University, has family weekend. So my wife and I are going to be juggling a lot of different activities this weekend. First, I want to thank Richie Davis and all those board members who recognized me. I'm honored and humbled to be part of this year's inductee class into the Hall of Fame. Also, a big shout out and congratulations to all those other inductees. I wish I was there to swap stories. My fondest memories of Radford really kind of revolve around sports. And when I start thinking about the sports and the activities that I was involved in, I can't help but think about all those coaches that had an impact on me. The reason why I excel, mainly because of those coaches. And to give you a good example, Denny Green, freshman year, playing football. We're practicing and all of a sudden, hey, we're special teams. Coach Green has everybody kind of line up and try to kick an extra point. Everybody tries to hit it straight on. Dinosaur, toe style, Derek Turner, Robert Lundberg, Trey Ball. I can remember all those individuals, me included, straight on. What happens? Denny says, hey, don't you play soccer? Of course, I say yes. I grew up playing soccer in Athens, Georgia, before I moved up to Radford. And he said, hey, go ahead and try to kick it soccer style. You think you may have something. And that's what started the legacy. I continued to work at it, and I appreciated everything that Denny did to get me started, but Coach Lundberg really had a major impact. He had so much confidence and encouragement in me that I needed at that time in my life as a freshman, as a sophomore and such. I can remember one time, I think it was maybe my junior year, I made a short field goal, and I had just missed a 55-yard field goal. And the series installed, and he kind of pulls me up and goes, hey, we're about ready to kick maybe a 65-yard. Can you make it? Of course, I said, yes, I can make it. That's when Coach Schull pulls him aside, counsels him probably a little bit. Never got the opportunity to kick that 65-yard field goal, but I would love the opportunity. I also appreciate Coach Lindenberg because I think he's mainly responsible for getting soccer, or allowing soccer to get started. I was a 4-year letterman on the soccer team, and my freshman year was the first time they had soccer. I can remember playing down at Bissett Field in the cold, the rain, the snow sometimes, and being part of that organization where I think I may have scored the first goal, but I know I definitely let in probably about the first 10, 15, maybe even 20 goals. So I really appreciate Coach Lindenberg giving us the opportunity, not only me, but everybody else, to play soccer there and to get the program going. And then as I understand, the program is doing really well right now. I also got to reach out and say thank you to Coach Martin, Buddy Martin. I loved playing basketball, but my senior year I could only contribute during practice. During the game times, generally on the weekends, I was away on recruiting visits. But I appreciate Coach Martin when he basically said, hey, we'd love to have you as part of the team, but if you're not going to be there for the games, we can't play you in other games, which I was fine with. I just wanted to contribute as part of the team. And contribute I did. I think I really seriously aggravated Steve Osborne, Chris McCormick, and Kevin Sherman because of the defense that I played during practice. They don't appreciate, I'm sure, what I did during practice, but I knew that I was helping the team. Lastly, I want to thank my dad, my mom, and my brother Steve. I think Steve is probably my biggest fan that's out there, and my dad, who really helped push me to get me through and to continue to grind. But again, as I look back on my athletic career at Radford, it's all about the coaches for me. And I can't mention all the coaches that had an impact, but Coach Lindenberg, I really appreciate what you've done for me. The reason why I'm probably in this hall is because of what you've done. Thank you so much. Wish I could be there. Hope everybody enjoys the time and the sharing of stories. God bless. Go Bobcats.
While we get reset up, you'll see the programs there that we've done, and I just want to take an opportunity and look at that. And again, it's just something that when you look on the back page, you'll see that we have a special thanks to certain contributors, and the Hall of Fame kind of operates on donations, and so you'll be getting letters from us saying that if you have an extra $1 in your pocket, don't forget about the Hall of Fame. So I'm very fortunate our next inductee is a classmate of mine, the one from class of 1983. I don't know how many we have, but she is a super athlete that came from the same time that I was in school. And so without further ado, her sister Michelle is going to introduce Gina Bianco.
This is a bit out of my comfort zone, and I feel sure I will have several words from my sister after this. But who better to introduce a successful Bobcat than her little sister, who admired, respected, and always tried to follow in her footsteps. She has been an inspiration to me on and off the court our whole life. Gina began her Bobcat career in 1979 and played through 1983. She was a team manager for the varsity tennis team during her middle school years, just to get her feet on those tennis courts. Finally, when she was on the team, it was her time to enjoy her lifelong sport. The first couple of years were rebuilding and developing years, but each of those years, the Bobcat team won districts and competed well at the regional level. In 1982, the hard work paid off under head coach Chris Garber, assistant coach Betty Branch, and athletic director Norm Lumber. The Bobcats went 12-2, won the district championship, the regional championship, won the state semifinals, and lost in the finals to a tough Alta Vista team. Gina competed both in team singles and doubles at the #1 position and led the team to victories. In '83, her senior year, the team went 15-1, only to be defeated in Harrisonburg in the state finals. Under the leadership of Chris Garber and Betty Branch, the team had a 2-year record of 27-3, and so the tradition began for Radford Bobcat tennis. It's as dominant today as it has ever been. Gina would return from college every summer to work with Coach Garber, relentlessly to improve her game. These wonderful experiences opened the door for Gina to play at the Division III Emory and Henry College under the leadership of Eleanor Lemon. While in Emory and Henry lost, Gina held the #1 position in singles and in doubles all 4 years. Her team placed second in the Old Dominion Athletic Conference tournament her first year. She was a 4-year NCAA Division III National Tournament contender for singles and named ODAC Player of the Year all 4 years. As a freshman, she had a record of 14-4, the best in the conference, and she was ranked 35th nationally for Division III tennis. As a sophomore in Emory and Henry, she was named ODAC Player of the Year and compiled a 12-3 season. Her coach was named Coach of the Year, and the team captured the ODAC title, the first title captured since Emory joined the Old Dominion Athletic Conference in 1973, a title the team captured for the next 3 years. She had an overall singles record of 72-33, doubles record of 56-33 over her 4 years at Emory. She was ranked among the top 16 in nationals play, and the following year she and her doubles partner, Elizabeth Cox, were ODAC doubles champions, and the team finished the season ranked 3rd in the South region. Her final year, Gina and Elizabeth earned a national ranking as the #8 doubles team, and Gina was individually ranked as high as 24th in the nation. Her senior year, Gina received the Hall Memorial Award, the highest honor given to a female athlete at the collegiate level. She and her coach attended the National Division III tennis tournament in Kalamazoo, Michigan 4 years in a row, and they stayed with the same host family each year, who Gina still does keep in contact with. Gina credits all of her achievements to the strong Bobcat tradition of our success, hard work, and dedication to family. In 1994, she was inducted into the Emory and Henry Sports Hall of Fame. She went to graduate school and continues to work in her first and only job, 32 years later, as a school counselor at our bridge rivalry, I hope this is okay to say, Pulaski County. Please join me in giving a big welcome to an amazing woman who I am very proud to call my sister, Gina Young. Thank you, Michelle, for that introduction, and yes, I'll pay off later on this evening. I'm going to put this down so you can't see, all I see is the money. It truly is an honor, a privilege, an amazing feeling to be here today. The last time that I stood here, I was 18 years old, giving my senior class speech to a bunch of classmates, and this one's going to be a little bit different. Before I get into it, and this isn't even in my speech, I do want to say, Richie, it has been the most welcoming and amazing experience for Radford and what they've done. I was inducted at Emory and Henry, and I didn't get any of this. I got on the field and a handshake. I mean, it was great, and I appreciate it. But what Radford has done, even the text we got Friday morning that said, "Welcome to homecoming," to all of us. It's just very special, and you don't get that at other places. So I didn't want to miss that part. I was just telling someone out there how special and how great that you and the committee and everyone has been. My tennis career started around age 5 in North Carolina. My dad would take Brother Anthony and I to a tennis court, line us up on the opposite side, and slam serves at us. Now we, Anthony and I, being the obedient children that we have always been,
would run around, chase all the balls, dodge them, get hit, cry, whatever, take them back over, fill up the bucket, go back to the other side, and let Dad hit them at us again. Now, I'm not sure how long this went on, but finally one day, and of course Dad shared this story, but I said, do you ever think about getting us a racket? Well, he did. And so it begins. I'm sure we still had to go to that court with those little rackets and try to hit the balls and dodge the balls. But finally we started connecting on some things, and I realized I kind of like this game. Our babysitter, Ramona Turk, would take us to the Radford Recreation Department 3 times a week for her tennis lessons. And that was okay with me, because I'd take my racket, and she'd buy me a 10-cent Coca-Cola, and I'd sit right there on that bench and watch everything that went on. I never touched the ball, but I drank that Coke every time. And I think looking back on that, I learned a lot. Because I didn't have a lot of professional lessons. I learned a lot from watching Ramona Turk and my Coke, of course. The tennis lessons began at various places, but none were so intense as the ones my father gave me at Pine Valley Tennis Courts. He would work and work and work, and we would fight and fight and fight. And of course, I was learning the whole time. In 7th grade, I started entering some tournaments, and I was allowed to be the manager on the varsity girls team for a couple of years before I could actually go to high school. And whenever they had an extra player, they would let me go out and play that player. And it was just for fun. I don't even know if the other player kept score, but for me, it was the Wilmington Championship every time. Playing for the Bobcat tennis team was the most important thing in my life. In 1979, the tradition was strong, and we were serious. But there's so many amazing things that happened back then that just can't happen now in today's world. For example, I had typing class with Larry Mannon. Now that's typing, not computer, typing class with Larry Mannon. He was a wonderful tennis coach and a die-hard Bobcat. God bless his soul. On match day, he would hand me a couple balls, call me out a partner, and let me go to the courts during typing class and just hit around a little bit. So I felt good about the match that day. I bet we did this over a dozen times. Either nobody caught us, or they just let us. I don't know, but it was a wonderful thing for me. As I entered my junior and senior year, Coach Garber would often meet me at the courts at 7 just to hit around the morning of a big match so that I felt more comfortable. I might have a little confidence issue now that I'm reading this, but it helped me feel more comfortable. And goodness sakes, Chris, I can't believe that you're here today. It's so very exciting to me. But who would do that nowadays? How does that happen? It doesn't happen. You know, and back then, I don't know if I mentioned, but if I was going to meet Chris at court, then I'd have to walk to the court to meet Chris, because not every 16-year-old got a brand new car back then. So I'd walk to the court, meet Chris, we'd hit around a little bit, she'd go on and do whatever she did teaching-wise, and I'd go on to class. And I look back on that now, and I think, did I even take a shot? What did I do? How did I do that? But it didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was tennis. Everything else took a back seat, and I know there are athletes out there today just like that everything else takes a back seat. Practices were intense and hilarious. Coach Garber would send us on a run down the hill to what is now the CDS and back, and we would, of course, go hide behind the middle school for exactly 16 minutes, and then come running back, exhausted. Thanks, Coach. That was a good one. We didn't have weight rooms for female athletes, and there weren't fitness classes for female athletes and things like this. So we did the best that we could, and we cheated all the time. And I look back on that, and I think that was horrible, because when I got to college, it didn't work. Somehow, I feel like Chris might have known about it, but I'm not sure. The best and most meaningful part about playing in the districts each year is that the district tournaments were held at our courts. And back in those days, Radford High School released the kids from class on district day. They all came out to the courts, stood up on the hill, laid up on the hill, and anywhere else that they could get to watch us play in the district tournament. Now this, amazing, because of course we can't let kids out of class to go to the bathroom right now. But back back then, all of my friends would be up there watching me play. And a lot of them were there to cheer me on, I'm sure. But the majority of my friends needed to make sure I was filled in on all the gossip from the day, because I had been out of school all day. Now this is the true story. I'd be changing sides of the court, and I would hear about who broke up with who at lunch, and who was mad at who right then. Now it was quite the scene. Betty Branch pacing up and down that sidewalk, back and forth, back and forth. Chris Garber saying, "Will you focus on the match? Quit talking to your friends. Pay attention to the match." I'm playing my heart out. I still want to know why Susan and Randy broke up. I don't understand that. And I think that's just how it was. That became important too. But just the fact that school was released to support an event happening on our campus, I just think that's amazing, because it just doesn't happen like that anymore. We also played 2 out of 3 sets, which tennis doesn't do that anymore. So we played since I was number 1 singles and doubles, I played 2 out of 3 sets for my singles champion, 2 out of 3 sets for my doubles champion. Then we would have the team match. So we played 2 out of 3 sets for the team match for singles, and 2 out of 3 sets for the doubles team match. That's a lot of tennis in one day. There would be an hour break in between before we'd start the next section. And I was allowed to go home and put my feet up. And during that time, I would eat my favorite athletic, nutritional meal, a fried chicken sandwich from Hardee's with a pickle. Now, not one in a day. Usually every break I wanted one, sometimes up to 3 in a day, because it became a lucky sandwich. Now, I don't know how my father endured buying anything from Hardee's, much less 3 fried chicken sandwiches with a pickle in one day. Back then, who knew? I thought it was great. My junior and senior year, I had the best doubles partner in the world, Suzanne Graham. We loved playing together, and we did quite well. It was very ironic, as her father, Bob Graham, and my father, Tony Miano, were best friends and played tennis all the time also. Suzanne and I competed and laughed, and competed some more. And I'll never forget, after our last state semifinal loss, we cried all the way home because we were going to miss each other. And I think that's what being a Bobcat is all about. The tradition, commitment, love, and being a family. And I'd like to take a moment to honor the biggest Bobcat I had the privilege of knowing for over 20 years, Big Al Hall. Big Al was a Bobcat through and through, and up until the days before his death, he could tell you every team record, who excelled during that time, and he was very, very proud of the Hall of Fame. He helped me tremendously when I had to come up with a picture for my 1994 induction at Emory and Henry. I had to have a certain size, black and white, submitted by a certain date, and I was just an absolute wreck about the whole thing. Well, Big Al went to work. To this day, I have no idea whose basement I ended up in, with a huge studio that took the picture. But it's a true story, and I keep it with me. There's the picture, and it's all because of Alan Hall. And if anybody can identify this picture, I'd love to know where I was when I got it taken. But those are the things that Big Al would do. He would do it for any Bobcat. I just think he absolutely lived his life to be a Bobcat, and he helped and supported so many kids along the way, including myself. The Bobcat tradition is amazing, it's intense, and it will carry on for many years to come. Winning is important, and Radford High School does so many valuable things to help make this happen. I'm one of the lucky ones. I grew up playing Bobcat sports, I excelled playing Bobcat sports, and because of those experiences with those coaches and those teachers and that support, I was able to excel at the next level in college. I would say to the coaches, administrators, central office at Radford right now, don't change anything. You have the formula to help the students succeed and to excel. And I thank you for everything that you have done for me and for this very special honor today. I thank my family for years and years and years of support, for you guys all for coming today, for Coach Garber coming today, and some friends that I used to work with, These are all very, very special. You, being RHS, have touched my life forever. Thank you. Thank you so much. I didn't get a plaque now.
So, everybody keeps on thanking me. It takes a lot of people to put this together the way that we want it to be put together. First, I'd like to acknowledge our administration, and if they'll stand up. Tara Grant, her first year as principal at Radford. Where are you, Tara? She here? Assistant principal. And I personally, Kim, I mean, I meant it. You've helped me out a tremendous amount getting everything together, and I really appreciate it. And then Cam Sellers, is Cam here by chance? Anyway, Cam is also an assistant principal and has helped out. Greg Wade, our athletic director, couldn't be here. He had a commitment, but he also has done a wonderful job. So let me just mention, and you'll see it in the program if you have one, our committee. Betty Branch is actually the honorary chairperson. I made her stay on the committee for this year. She wanted off at the same time, but I wanted to acknowledge Betty. Betty couldn't be here, but she in your Hall of Fame, but she's also somebody that really cares about this induction ceremony and how we go about selecting people for it. Jeff Smith, Jeff's here, isn't he? Okay. Jeff, our former principal, is on our staff. Angie Edwards. Angie? There she is. She's back there anyway. I don't think, is Dink Morris, David Morris here? I didn't think he could be here. And I know John Geeson is on vacation and had told us that well ahead of time. Also on our committee is our next inductee. And so I will share a little bit with you about David J. Bissett and just a little bit of how that went about. We did our vote for the inductees that have been on the stage here, but David had been on a cell phone call, and then I purposely kept him out because I knew that we had a secret committee vote that was getting ready to induct David J. Bissett. And so I know that he was caught off guard, but there's no question. And when I grew up, the senior year, Coach Shule in the Hall of Fame, he changed the defense, and they called it a 5-2 monster. And the monster position is basically a linebacker hybrid strong safety, and I was the one that was put in that spot. And so when we go through the season and start reading the articles that David would write for the news journal, every time he would say, Monster Richie Davis did this, and people in school would go, oh man, that writer really thinks you're something else. And I just always got the biggest kick out of people just thinking that I was a monster when I really wasn't doing anything. He was talking about the position that I was playing. But what we're going to do right now is have probably our greatest Hall of Fame inductee, Coach Norman T. Lindenberg here. Hey Charlie, if you'll help me out again, if you'll help walk Coach up here. And then while we wait for that, we have a lot of Hall of Fame inductees that have been here. I see Avy. I know Chris has come down. If all the former inductees will please stand up. Robert, if you'll stand up. And everybody give them a round of applause. All right, so as Coach gets up here on this, it is wonderful that we have people like Dave Bissett, who, again, graduate of Radford High School and has put on paper over the years just fantastic. He brings you into what took place in these athletic events.
I was a football coach, but I'm living because I play basketball every day after practice, and all of them would stomp on me and kick me, and this is what happens in my older days. I'm going to stand here. I I'm so proud to be here and honor Dave Bissett, Joanne, and myself. He spent hours and hours at our house going through her scrapbooks of the Bobcats, and a lot of these stories were, she helped him along the way too, and so it was good. I want to acknowledge his Susan, his wife Susan, and Katie, daughter, and appreciates everything that you all have done. I will start with Susan gave me some information here, impressions of David when we first met him, and he was a young reporter, and we always talked about that a bunch with Dave, and it seemed to me as if, and Dave the same way, reporters, football officials, whether football, basketball, whatever, all were part of the game, and all should work together to make high school sports special. And so I think David took that and did very well with it. But David came from a sports family. His father was outstanding, and any place you go in Radford, you see their name, Dave Bissett Park. So many wonderful, wonderful contributions that they've made to the community of Radford. Dave, along with his dad, was exceptional in articles that they wrote, and I think their idea was, along the way, always that sports writers, so many times, it's today's world maybe at times becomes very negative at many times, but they were so positive with young people. Great articles, both Dave Sr. and Dave here on the stage. Great folks. I want to go over a few things that Dave did. Marshall Johnson out of Richmond was a great sports writer for high school sports. And Dave and his dad both won the award for outstanding writers for Marshall Johnson. And that's quite a contribution. I mean, that was all over the entirety of the state of Virginia. Really wonderful. I don't know, Susan asked me to say something about the two of them, and if I had to pick out one thing to say, it would be that his daddy used to go scouting with me in football, and I'll make this quick, and we wanted to scout a little beyond Giles someplace, and back then they didn't have telephones, so I forgot to go by and pick him up. And we had practice, and I didn't Dave Sr., and he was a man of few words until he got upset. And I found that back then, no phones, so he found an old phone booth someplace along the way, and I called him and I said, Dave, I'm over here, I forgot you, I'm over here in Giles. And I said, where are you? And he said, we're in blank. Where do you think I am? I'm home. So anyway, we used to tell Dave about that all the time. I never did that to him, but Dad spent a lot of time. But in this community, to me, to us folks, and Rick sitting right, all you coaches here, I think the local paper is so important. And what Dave did, he made so many great stories for the young people of Radford. And that was his way of sharing his life. And any time that you picked up the paper, Dave had done a great job with it. I watched Dave, and he followed followed in his father's footsteps, so closely in his father's footsteps. And his dad would always come up with a big story and a nice story, and not only about Radford, but about his community sports. Dave, many of the contributions he made too were in recreational sports. Some kids didn't have an opportunity to play on the teams, so he would write about them, and he was always writing about community sports, trying to develop the pride, the Bobcat pride that we now have in this school. Whenever you go to the park, you see Dave Bissett Park, the sign out there, and his dad had that dream. It had all those cornfields down through there, and he said, I want to make this a very special place. So he did and developed it, and now in our community, the Bissett Park area is outstanding. It's a wonderful, beautiful place to attend, and we're really proud of that. Lastly, I see Joanne sitting there, and she said, what do you want to say, Joanne? She wanted to say how much she appreciated the Bissett family. All right, at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dave, and congratulations, Dave.
Thank you, Coach Lambert, for your thoughtful words. I would like to thank the Radford High School Hall of Fame Committee for this honor. Congratulations to the new Hall of Fame members: Gina Miano, Rick Conley, Doris Nichols, Shane Nichols, Hannah Morrow, Todd Gilmore. It is a privilege to be in your company. There's a very important group that I need to recognize in our community. For decades, the community has been involved with success in supporting its young people in sports programs. Radford has, in some ways, been the envy of communities large and small. This success story began 100 years ago with district competition, which eventually continued to the state level. The Bobcat football program began in the late 1920s, expanding as each decade arrived. For the next 30 years, football coaches Emmett Grinnell, Hot Geeson, H.H. Hopgood, Ray McCoy, Jim Hayner, and Bob Williams led Bobcats to the winning seasons in the 26-member District 6. Radford closed out the 1950s by winning the final District 6 football championship. They joined 9 other high schools to form the New River District in 1960. For the next 3 years, Narrows was the district champion. The Green Waves' undefeated streak ended in 63. When Radford posted a 13-6 victory. Retired Narrows coach Barry Ragsdale told my dad, he broadcast on WRAD radio, that it was one of the greatest games he had ever seen, and that Radford was on the verge of greater things to come. Residents soon discussed plans to replace the football field known as the Best Bowl. The Rotary Club and the Lions Club each gave $1,000 to Fred McCoy of the Radford Athletic Boosters Club towards building a stadium, state-of-the-art stadium, and track. Other local community members contributed in many ways. Football coaches Tammy Farnsworth and Dr. Harold Apsh began the winning tradition with a combined record of 60, 35, and 5 in the 1960s. Apsh's 68 and 69 teams were New River District champions. He was also credited with starting the All-American Relays, an event featuring the best schools in Southwest Virginia and beyond. 1970 became the most important year in the state. Virginia High School League took an active role in recognizing district, region, and state championships. With the EHSL stepping up its game, so did the school board by hiring Norman Miller to coach coached football and track. That first season, Lindbergh had a winning record by preaching a family atmosphere while keeping things simple. In 1971, Bobcats became state football champions for a standing room only crowd. That spring, girls were allowed to participate in sports. Bobcats took home 13 titles that year, enabling the program to reach a higher plateau. In May of 1972, my first sports assignment was covering the state track and field meet in Blacksburg. Donnie Dickens in the long jump and triple jump, and Donnie Lake in the hurdles set the pace that day as Radford won the state trophy. My second story was the annual Athletic and Speech Club All Sports Tournament with two major awards. First was the Mickey Runyon Memorial Award for coaching for outstanding character and spirit. A.B. Williams was the recipient. The second award was the Paul Brown Memorial Award for the outstanding football player. The award went to Bill King. My summer sports and news beats were to cover recognition from tennis tournaments to city and church softball. I also attended city council, school board meetings, and I became well known for my photos. That summer, a front page story of the Radford News Journal announced plans for the new city park to be built behind the old rec hall and along the new river on 30 acres. When football season began in 1972, the Bobcats repeated the state champions. Teams were also successful in basketball, indoor and outdoor track, baseball, tennis, and golf. What was really impressive during this time, as we used to call it, was the Booster Club's hospitality. The group provided very good working press and officials at halftime, in addition to hosting post-game cookouts for regional teams. Also, Radford's volunteer medical staff would often assist injured players on the opposing sidelines. In 1973, the VHL expanded its sports programs to include girls basketball in the fall, track, and tennis in the spring. The Bobcats were among the leaders in dominated play. Faye McCoy, Alice Gallimore, and Elizabeth Sanders were the first coaches of these three sports. With the success of boys and girls programs, City Council and the school board supported the need to build a new gym, followed by the construction of 6 tennis courts. I saw many shining stars put Radford on the map when I began covering sports. Yet there were 7 varsity sports and almost 200 participants. 10 years later, there were more than 20 sports, with at least 350 athletes. I appreciate the coaches who called the results, so I could properly promote these teams. I was also fortunate to watch Radford University establish itself in men's basketball in '74. Highlanders got their first home victory against Henry and Henry College in Peters Hall for 200 fans. Since that time, RU has developed into a respectable competitor. That success is twofold. The local community has supported the university over the years, and in return, RU has helped coordinate events such as the Spring Jubilee and Group A high schools. I also watched the Virginia Tech football program take shape. Former Radford assistant football coach Frank Finger became head coach in the 1980s and put the Hokies on the collegiate fast track. I would like to express my thanks to John Geeson. Our friendship goes back years. Recently, when he spoke, he said, I want to tell you that you have been named to the Hall of Fame, class of 2021. I told him that it was a good thing I was sitting down, because if I'd been standing, my knees would have buckled. After that phone call, I thought about my 40 years of community news. I did news and sports reporting, photography, engineering, editorial patrolling, and sports editing. I designed pages with the reader in mind. Each of these positions made me better at my job. My dad was my role model, as he covered sports for 30 years. It's an honor to follow in his footsteps. He is a member of the Hall of Fame class of 2009. this recognition today. One of the best things I ever did was to marry my wife, Susan, almost 40 years ago. She has traveled with me on this long journey and has always been very supportive. We are currently living our best life in retirement. I am grateful to her. And to our God, Kate, you taught me all about Sesame Street. And you wrote a lot of books when you were a small child. You have become a star, a talented musician, and you are a joy and a gift in life. Thank you, Kate. I wish you nothing but the best for all of you. Thank you again for supporting me as a member of the Hall of Fame, class of 2020.
So I got Hall of Famer Joe Manning to do the quote for Dave Bissett, and you can look through here and the program if you were able to get one. And the only person that didn't have a previous inductee to do the quote is our final and next inductee. So, being chairperson for the first year, I took a little liberty and decided that I would put these quotes, and if you have the program, just turn to the one from Rick Cormany. So Rick Cormany, before he ever became a Radford Bobcat, was a coach at Grayson County, and for this article at Rocky Gap. And Rocky Gap had some good players, and you can read it here. But I love this quote because this is it kind of captures who this man is. I'm going to read it real quick. This is Rick Cormany, back before he joined the Radford High School. These refs are scared to call an aggressive man-to-man defense. They don't know how. We were 21-3 before tonight because we got in people's jocks, and these guys don't know how to call that type of defense. I've seen the Hokihibi District in their 2-3 zones. Refs have to find something to call in those games, so they call little touch fouls. I don't consider a touch foul a foul. Sure, I lost my head, and the kids lost theirs too, but we'll play Holston anytime and any place. You saw the difference in talent. I can't give Holston any credit for winning because they couldn't stay with us in a well-refereed game. Now, that guy has been here 3 decades, and not one thing has changed. I'm so proud that this man is getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. Without further ado, one of his top assistants, Jeff Little, will introduce Rick Cormany.
Props. Good morning. What a great honor it is to be part of this celebration. Congratulations, Richie, Hall of Fame, all you guys in the committee. What another stellar class. Congratulations to all you inductees. Just what a great honor, what a great privilege it is. It's really neat to be part of that. I'd like to thank you guys for the honor and privilege of being able to speak to you and introduce you as well. I'd like to thank Coach Nichols as well. Coach said I had 5 to 7 minutes. I see Coach Fisher back there. He's already saying there ain't no way. So Coach Fisher and I do a lot of the scouts as the season goes on, late in the game or late in the season, and usually we try to keep him to 10 minutes. And if the running goes, there's no way, particularly me, that I can keep anything to 10 minutes. But I promise you I'll do the best I can. So what I've eliminated, Coach, I've eliminated all the calls. So we'll skip that. It's totally appropriate, I think, for the ceremony to be taking place on a Saturday. I see a bunch of former players and coaches. We know that Saturday is Coach Cormany's favorite day of practice. We can get after it. We know we get Sunday to recuperate. And we just get better. We find we get better on Sundays. Since he's retired, if you'd have selected another day to do it, I found out that this time slot, the 10:30 time slot, is really not a good time slot for Coach because he's really tied up with the exploits of Marshall Dillon and Miss Kitty. So good luck in trying to get him on the phone at that time of day. Really great to see so many former players here too. If you guys would just stand up real quick. And current players. there's an urban legend that goes around about Coach Cormany. All right. So, players, you guys I'm sure are cringing. Guys in the back, this is a Radford University hat. Administrators, I know it's a red hat. I'm not making a political statement. Okay. So there's an urban legend that goes through that Coach Cormany had a red hat very similar to this RU hat, and it was, if I'm not mistaken, it had Texas Roadhouse on it. And it somehow it got I guess an understanding that Saturday practices, really the difficulty of Saturday practice was hinged on what color hat Coach put on. He'll tell you he didn't give it that much thought. But if he came in the red hat, it was going to be a long day. So there was a stretch of Saturdays where literally coaches come in who didn't wear the red hat. So I don't know if it's Timothy Worrells or if it's my son Josh or Seven, maybe Anthony Miano back there. I'm not sure. Somebody went to coach and said, "Coach, where's your red hat?" Well, it turns out he lost his red hat jet skiing on the lake, and it's somewhere in the bottom of Clayton Lake. So I've been through 6 state championships. I've seen a lot of celebrations. I'm not sure I've ever seen guys so happy to know that red hat's gone. So, I thought that would be a great way to kind of introduce you guys to Coach's intensity and his how he was dialed in, particularly on Saturdays. Background, to give a little background on Coach, he's entering his 41st year as a coach. Started back in 1981 as a 9th grade coach at Hillsborough Intermediate School. His first high school job was at Rocky Gap, and then he had a year stint that was at Radford University, and then back in the high school ranks at Grayson County, and he landed here in 1993, and the rest is history, right? Or at least that's easy to say, the rest is history looking back at it. He'd tell you the first few years there were some lean years, but once he got rolling with the help of Coach T and Coach Nichols back there, things got moving. So if you think about some of the reasons that we're here for Coach Cormany, 22 of the last 23 three-region district championships, regular season district championships. 16 of the last 17 three-river district tournament championships. Now I know you're sitting there thinking, okay, you had district championships, but they quit about 6 years ago. The district voted to not have district tournaments anymore. I wonder why that was. During that reign, there was 2 different times when there was 50-plus game win streaks, district winning streaks. The last one ended in 2020, 51 games, and that is spanned from 2015 to 2020, so just 51 straight games in the district. His teams have also won 10 Regency championships, the last 6 straight, 4 Conference 45 championships. That was when BHSL decided that they were going to probably do conferences and regions, so really that's 14 region titles. 17 of the last 22 seasons, his teams have made the state tournament. Just unbelievable. 13 of those 17, he's ended up making the Final Four. 8 of those 13 ended up in the finals, making the finals. 6 of those 8 ended up winning it all, right? So 6 state championships, impressive. Coach Davis down here would argue that there's more than that, all right? And there's a little story behind that. Coach Davis would tell you there's 8 state championships, because in 2013, with 2 weeks left in the season, we went to Salem when we played in the Warren Stanley Memorial, all right? And we beat Salem there. 2 weeks later, we win the state championship. We're on the bus ride home, and somebody shoots Coach a text and says, Salem just won the Division IV championship. Coach immediately stands up and yells, "You guys are the Division II and Division IV state champions." So fast forward to 2019, same thing. We go to Salem. We play in the Adam Ward Memorial Tournament. We play Northside. Both teams undefeated going in. We beat Northside. 2 weeks later, we go to state. Northside has won the state of the Division III championship right before we stepped on the floor. We stepped on and we won. And so once again, now we're Division II, Division III state champions. So in Coach Davis's eyes, we've got 8 of them. So. A lot of people think coaches, a lot of coaches, you look at how they're guided, and in basketball particularly, or you read John Wood's books, you may read Dean Smith's books, Roy Williams' books, some people may even look at Coach Krzyzewski's books, but it's really interesting to know that our staff, when rubber hits the road and we need somebody for guidance, coaches always have one guy that they really look to in particular, and that was an old sheriff from down in Mayberry. So it's amazing, our conversations when we're really trying to decide, which way we're going in our group as we're sitting around, we end up with conversations about Andy Griffith. So, Andy Griffith is kind of the special sauce that you guys may not know behind the program. But seriously though, as I kind of wrote pages down, I sat down and I was like, man, what do I want to share and what do I want to portray out there, and kind of narrowed it down. I think I just narrowed it to things that I thought would make Coach successful over the years. All right. First thing is he never lets us forget when to get business. Right? That's the main thing, the most important thing, and it's that. And we know it's challenging, we know it's rewarding, but he always keeps that first in our forefront. He expresses team over self. It's really funny. One of the first days of the year, and young guys, you guys will see it, old guys will remember. He talks about uniforms. Right? Uniform is he always said, look it up in the dictionary. Right? Our shoes are black and white. Right? And he'll always say, you can have black or you can have white. They can be black and white, but mostly black. So it's always the same. It's never about arm sleeves and leg sleeves and all that unless you medically need it, but it's about trying to not stand out on the court, but stand out as a team on the court. Good story on that has been, and kids will tell you, and Alan Dixon will tell you, it's sitting here, it's great to see Alan. Alan will tell you that would you choose individual accolades over team championships? And this coach preaches all the time, it's team championships. It's what it's all about. It's that family, that community that's built. 2013, we were getting ready to play the state finals. We were playing a great Gate City team. We were sitting up in the stands, and I was sitting beside coach, and we're watching Gate City playing the semifinals, and they were running roughshod over. I can't remember who they were playing at the time. And coach looked at me and he said, I want to change the lineup. I've been with him for 14 years. I've been with him several years, and we never thought that. I'm thinking in my head, God, you can change the lineup before we go into the championship game. I don't know about that. And so we kicked it around. And Gate City had a big 6'6" kid that was really good. And coach, the more he watched, the more he figured that big kid stayed in the paint, and we had to get him out of the paint. And so he said, Zach Bradley was our starting post player, one of our post players. And he said, let's pull Zach, but Zach was a 6-man. D. Cook was a guard. Put D. Cook in as a starter, and we'll go 4 guards, and we'll change the lineup. So fast forward to that, we set Zach down, and this is just a tribute to kind of the way he's always taught, and the way that I think we've been so successful. Is he looks at Zach and he says, Zach, he said, we're going to make a lineup change. And Zach said, okay. And he said, Zach started all year long. He said, I feel like that, we want to go with a smaller lineup. We want to try to get the big guy out. Zach, honest to goodness, Zach looked Coach and I, and he said, Coach, do whatever you think it takes to win. I'm with it. All right. Zach played more minutes in that championship game probably than he played in average in regular games as a starter. D. Cook rewarded that decision by coming in and hanging 20 on Gate City, and we beat him by 14 for our 3rd championship. I think that's just a great testament to just that team of yourself. Coach would, at the end of every practice, every team, be it 8th grade team, JV team, varsity team, we always line up where we circle around the mid-court and, we talk to our team. Coach, the one thing he always tells me, he said, care for the guy across from you. Care for the guy beside you more than you care for yourself. Right? And that's important, now, because if you do that, great things happen when that occurs. Loyalty being a two-way street. We got Coach Nichols always loved to say that givers and takers. We really want givers. We want all of our guys to be givers, and we think that's a key attribute. And then everyone has a role. Every kid on our team, regardless of whether you're a starter or whether you're not, we always use the words, Coach will always tell you, there's no subs. We don't have substitutes. We expect you when you go in the game, regardless of when you're in, to play hard and do what's expected out of you. And challenge your teammates in practice, do all the right things, and you watch good things happen out of that. And then lastly, accountability. Be accountable to your school, be accountable to your teachers. And kids will tell you, these guys, the young guys over there, and even the older guys will tell you that Coach constantly get emails, and he's constantly not constantly, he will get every now and then, he'll get emails or calls, and it'll be, this kid's either doing great in class, or, this kid may need a little help in this class, or this kid's cutting up in class, right? And it doesn't take but one of those calls and a little bit of fellowship time with Coach Nichols after practice that kind of gets back in line again. Be accountable to your team. And I think Darius was talking about that earlier, and I think that's probably where he got that from. And to be accountable to your community. This is an amazing community. It is an amazing community that supports the schools, supports athletics, supports academics, and I've never seen anything like it. I grew up down in Chilhowie. My mom still always is like, it's just unbelievable what happens in that. So that is something that you guys, everybody needs to be so proud of, because it is really amazing. Opposing coaches, it is amazing how many times after a game we'll walk through the line and the coach will say, how do you guys get those guys to play that hard? You know, and coach and I'll talk, and it's just like we kind of look at each other. It's almost like you're dumbfounded because it's like it's what's expected. You know, it's not play every other play. It's accountability. And then lastly, coach will always, it's amazing. He will tell all the guys that you put all that together, that accountability, that discipline that goes into it, the love of your teammate and all of that. And when you find yourself in a situation in life that you don't have that, it's not that way, whether it's another team you're on, whether it's a job you're at, you'll hate it. And it's true. We've had players come back that are at the next level, and they'll say, it's so bad. It's just, you know, there's not that accountability, guys can do this and do that or whatever. So I think truly that accountability is what has really made this program what it is. All right? So with all that said, it's a great honor I present to you Radford High School Hall of Fame Coach Rick Harmon.
Okay, my anxiety pill has worn off now, so this may not work too good. I started taking an anxiety pill about 15 years ago during the JV game. I couldn't sit and watch the JV game. Can I raise this a little bit? That's good. I'd be walking the other school's hallways, knowing that I needed to be watching our JV play, and finally I went to the doctor and said, you got to give me something to calm my nerves. And so about 1 o'clock, it's a joke amongst the coaches here, and probably administrators too, about 1 o'clock on game day, and that's the only time I take an anxiety pill, but about 1 o'clock on game days, everything gets better after 1 o'clock. And I took this one this morning at 5 a.m. because I was up kind of early, so it's starting to wear off. So this is going to be probably jumbled around like crazy. But anyway, thanks, Jeff. Always, he's something else. Richie, Hall of Fame committee, thank you guys. I'm humbled to be a part of some of the most awesome athletes, contributors of this Hall of Fame. Just amazing people. When I look at the list, I was looking at the list again, and I'm like, gosh, what a neat group and what an outstanding group of people. I'm just humbled by it. I want to start with some thanks. First of all, I want to thank the good Lord for helping me find a way to Radford. I feel blessed to be here. I've felt blessed to be here the whole time. It's a great place, a great community. I just want to thank God for that. I want to thank my family, my immediate family, my wife Erica, my daughter Keely's here, Gavin's here, and I think Cam's watching. If everything's going well, he's in Rhode Island at the Naval Academy Prep School, and he'd like to be here. We got to go visit him 2 weeks ago. First time we'd seen him in about 3 months. I thought I was tough until that young man left home, and I figured out I'm not very tough. But when we got to see him, I was scared he was going to be like Otis Campbell and hide in the back of the car and us not know about it and ride home with us. But Aunt Bee would have found him and got him out of there. But anyway, if you're watching Cam, hang in there, buddy. Administrators, outstanding administrators that have been so supportive and had so much passion for what we try to do, what we try to accomplish, from Dr. Wright to now Rob Graham, all of our principals, Jeff Smith, thank you. But anyway, Darden Freeman, Greg Wade, everybody that's helped us do things first class. And when we do have an opportunity to play in big games, this community and our administrators have allowed us to do that, and I'm thankful for that. And you can't be here 28 years and not forget somebody, so I apologize right now, because there's been so many players and coaches and parents and community members
I'm going to mess this up. I'm just going to apologize right now. But assistant coaches, you know, in any kind of leadership role, you got to put people around you that are better than you. And I promise you, I've had a bunch of them around me that are better. And I just sit back a lot of times and let them do their job. And that has just been, it's just been such a blessing. If you guys would stand now, all my assistants, and let me just recognize you real quickly, if you don't mind, because I'm not sure exactly who's here. We'll start over here with Coach Davis. And Coach Davis, boy, it's good to see you. It's great to see you. Coach Davis is unbelievable. Bev Davis will give the shirt off of his back to any kid in this community and will help any way he can. And he's just been incredible for the Bobcat program. Back in the back, Ben Fisher. Ben Fisher played for me, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes. Ben Fisher has been an outstanding coach for us. He has taken Bobcat basketball to another level with the conditioning part, the weight training. I feel like we've put kids in Division I basketball because of our strength program, and that's Ben Fisher and Andrew Crowder. And I don't think Andrew's here, but mostly Ben Fisher. Jalen Phillips played for me, was part of the 30-0 basketball team, and Jalen has kind of been under Coach Fisher's mentorship, and now he's taken on our weight strength program while Coach Fisher's in Salem. Hopefully he's going to get back this way at some point. Coach T, as everybody knows him, Tommy Hill. Coach T has been with me since Rocky Gap days. We've had a lot of fun. We work hard at it. He drives. He's wore out car after car. His brother's a mechanic, and he's fixed cars for years to keep him rolling up and down the roads from Whitfield. He left us and went to Whitfield as a JV coach for a year, but we got him back last year, and he's gonna be with us this year. Jeff Little over here. See how I skipped over you? Jeff Little over here. Just been with us since the first state championship in 2009. He's been just my right-hand man. Just takes care of everything for us. Just so blessed. Coach Nichols, probably when I first got here, when I first came to Radford, Brenda King was a friend. And Brenda King, I don't know if you remember, girls and boys basketball were different seasons. So Brenda King, I've talked to the kids all the time about this. When I walked home at night, when I was a player, okay, I could tell my mom and dad anything, okay? I could tell them I should be shooting more, I should be taking all the shots, I was the best player, and guess what? They agreed, right? Okay, they agreed most of the time, okay? When we got to 2009, Jerry Hendricks, Scotty Hendricks' dad, Alan Dickerson's dad, John Thompson's dad, Dante Carter's parents, they were like, you just do what the coach says do, okay? Just do what he says do. And I knew at that point in time, and I'm not blaming any parents for nothing because I get it. At that point in time, I knew the loyalty of that group. There was nobody standing on one side of the fence or the other, okay? They were on our side of the fence, and that's when it took off. Now, I'm gonna go, and this I'm supposed to have timed myself, but anyway, see, the medicine's wearing off. Okay, I'm getting hyped. Okay, the journey. Okay, the journey started. Okay, back when Dad's here, and my mom, she's here in spirit, and I know she's here. And the journey started back when Dad used to whip my tail like Bill Nichols whipped Darius and Shane's tail on the outdoor courts. Okay, and they play they play until you finally beat them, and then they quit playing. You never see them no more. Or Dad would be part of our pickup games. So the love of the game started with Dad loving basketball and taking me to games in Pulaski Armory or whatever that thing was called as a kid and all that stuff. The game of basketball started then. Well, you know, Dad would play pickup with my friends and all, and his nickname was the Bull. Nobody wanted to guard him because they knew that he's going to bust their lip or something. I think it was mostly clumsy, but at that time. But anyway, Dad, thank you, because you're the one that put the love of the game in my heart, and I've loved it ever since. I always knew I wanted to coach because I wasn't good enough to play. I learned the game of basketball on the town courts of Whitfield. Down Withersfield is where I learned the game of basketball. It's easy to get into books, and it's easy to study, and it's easy to learn all you can learn, and I did try to do that as well. But if you don't have a feel for the game of basketball, I don't think you'll be so good as a coach. And I learned the game of basketball playing pickup basketball with Lloyd Sawyers, better known as Pig, Buster Taylor, also nicknamed Pedro, Nuke Sawyers, the Braxton brothers, the Green brothers, Eugene Hash. That's where I learned the game of basketball. Now, I'm not going to say everything was going on that was good there on those town courts, because it's probably the first time I smelled something that didn't smell like a regular cigarette between games. I would usually see, my mom and dad didn't know this was going on, I'd usually see either a fifth of wine being passed around or a bottle of something between games. But the games just got more and more intense. And finally, about the time I hit my junior year, they accepted me as a player. And I'm telling you, there were some rough cats there. And some of them are still doing the same thing. I love them, but some of them are still doing the same things they were doing back then in the 70s. But anyway, I think that has a lot to do with being able to coach the game of basketball and providing confidence when you need to provide confidence to kids, and then correcting when you need to correct. People think all the time how hard, oh, coach is so hard, coach is so hard. If you come to our practice, I guarantee you will hear 9 positive things to every 1 negative. And that is kind of our motto. That's how we try to go about this. Again, I spent 1 year at Hillsville Intermediate. I went to Rocky Gap as a head coach before I was ready. I was too young, made a lot of mistakes, had really good players. But we happened to win enough games. We got into region 4 out of the 5 years there. We happened to win enough games that Radford University, Joe Davis, who's one of my coaching mentors, who I loved to death, got to play golf with him not too long ago, he took a chance on me. At that point in time, I was able to get my master's, and the good Lord took over again. And what I mean by that, I thought I was on my way to being a college coach. And when I was at Radford University, I was a Division I coach. And the next thing you know, Coach Davis is relieved of his duties, which means usually your assistant coaches are relieved as well. And I'm at high school in Independence, Virginia, as an 8th grade guidance counselor and the head boys basketball coach. And we weren't very good. We won 7 games the first year. That was a football school and baseball school. Ed Goodson was the baseball coach, who some of you may know. He played in the league for 10 years. Basketball was just something to do between the 2 seasons. We got it going there a little bit, but more than anything, the best thing that ever happened to me in my life was I thought this was the worst thing that ever happened, is I met my wife of 28 years, Erica Castle, and we have 3 children that I'm extremely proud of. So that tells you again how things just play out sometimes. 1993, Erica and I got married. She had gotten her degree as a nutritionist. There weren't many jobs in Grayson County as a nutritionist, so we started looking around. Dr. Wright loved and still loves athletics. And Dr. Wright, I didn't even know at the time, he had been watching Mountain Empire District basketball for years. That's what I was coaching in. The tournaments were played at Radford High School, and Dr. Wright wanted me here. And thank goodness Buddy Martin, who had been around the game of basketball, but also I've gotten to know as well. That's how it came about. That's how I got here. The early years were tough, but when I say that, the kids were great. And what I mean by that is we the ones that stuck with it, those young men started the commitment, they started the dedication, they were just as important as the state championships because they hung in there and they helped us establish what we were trying to establish. And we won 4 games. We won 7 games the second year. We won 9 games the third year. We won 12. We won 12 again. And then Ben Fisher's class, and actually the class before started turning it around, and then Ben Fisher as a senior, his class, we won our first league title. We got to the state quarterfinals, and in that locker room, when we got to the state quarterfinals, and Shane missed that bucket that you heard him talk about, I told him in the locker room, you guys have got us where this is the standard now, and they'll expect us to be here every year. So they got it going, and then next thing you know, I have the Nichols brothers with me, and again, I knew through their dad their loyalty to what we were trying to do. And so then it just kind of took off. We just started winning. Well, then Darius graduates and Coach Nichols leaves. And the next thing you know, we have 3 triplets called Andrew, Ben, and Clayton. And we thought the bottom was going to drop out when Darius left. I always credit those 3 triplets and the ones that were around. And we happened to have a guy by the name of John Thompson, who will be in the Hall of Fame here. John Thompson transferred in here as a freshman, and that's when we lost the regular season championship. Turned around and won the tournament championship that same year to get us in the region one more time, because then you could get in 2 ways. Well, the next thing you know, they bridged the gap. And then when next year we won the regular season championship and have won them ever since. Like I think 17 a year in a row. But that's who did it. And I attribute them. And the next thing you know, we get another transfer from Rockbridge County, of all places. Alan Dickerson. All right, so we got 2 transfers, and the next thing you know, in 2009, we have a point guard that just decides he wants to get better and is nasty. And next thing you know, we finally break through, and we're in the locker room. And these stories can go on, but and we're in the locker room, and they're the group that. But that team was so talented. Alan could dunk it on the wing. Scotty, we had 7 or 8 kids that could actually dunk the basketball. Warm-ups were, people would come early, this were warm-ups. And then we had a couple sophomores on that team named Dante Carter, big play Dante, and Jerome Alexander. And those guys, they were part of that 2009 championship, so as sophomores, so they took us to 2011 championship. And then next thing you know, in 2011, we had a couple other guys like, and actually in 2011, we had Josh Smith, who was also part of that group. And so it just started, I don't know what happened, it just kept snowballing. And it's this craziest thing I've ever seen. And next thing you know, we got, in 2013, we got Josh Smith leading our team. And then I got to be real careful because, then we have another 2 transfers roll in. Okay, now I do believe they were coming here for a reason, because especially these next 2 were Mike Jones's sons, Nate and Miles, and they could have gone anywhere. They could have played at Roanoke Catholic. They could have played anywhere they wanted to because they could have afforded to send them to private school. But they wanted to play here. And so that helped, as Nate as a sophomore, Josh Little as a freshman, who's, again, one of the greatest leaders that's ever been here in any of our programs. And so next thing you know, then we have Marcus Finley. And I'm missing guys because there was a lot of people that came into play with that. Well, Josh, as a senior in 2013, Josh had played point for us. We knew we had Marcus Finley coming in. Marcus Finley was a great point guard. Josh could play anywhere. He could run the floor. He was athletic. He could finish around the basket. Well, the next thing you know, I said, Josh, we're going to make a change. Josh didn't care. He just wanted to win. So we moved Marcus to the point as a freshman. Josh plays on the wing, and we beat a really good Gate City team that year in the state championship. Same thing kind of happened to Marcus. We got a kid that came in, and arguably one of the best, if not the best, beside that one right there, named Quentin Morton Robertson. As a freshman, I'm like, okay, what am I going to do with these 2 point guards? Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to play the best 2 guards I got. And so we moved Q to the point, moved Marcus to the wing. You know what Marcus said? Coach, I just want to win the championship. And that's the kind of people I've been blessed to coach. Those kids that will just give and don't care about what else is happening. Okay? That's why. And then guess what else? In Q's freshman year, we had another transfer come in, my first foreign exchange guy, named Blake Burdak, who's about 6'9" from Australia and could play. And I don't know how that happened. I think Rob Graham for that one a little bit as well, because I didn't even know that. This guy just walks in the school. Okay, Blake Burdak would have played Division I had he not blew out his foot and had a terrible injury. That's how good he was. So there we are, and I know it's long. I know this has gotten long, but a lot of this has been just a whirlwind. It's been an incredible ride. It's embarrassing for me to be up here in some ways because it takes so many people to be successful in team sports, and I don't like feeling like being the one, because I'm telling you, these kids and their commitment, their family's commitment, and this school's commitment, this community's commitment, all those things, and these unbelievable assistant coaches that I've had, that's the big reason. That's a big reason. Accountability, Coach Little talked about it. We do hold our feet to the fire. They know, but now they know what's expected before they even come to us. That doesn't mean that we don't work with kids. We'll work with kids. We want them to figure it out. We want them to figure it out. We're going to play hard defense, and we're going to run the floor, and we're going to play extremely fast. And that's just who we are. We're going to play together. We're going to care about each other. We're not going to compromise Bobcat traditions for anybody. You're going to stand up for a teammate when they come off the floor. You're going to stand up for when they take a charge. Okay? The game night's not the time to show your displeasure about anything, because that lets the other team think that there's a weakness. These are all Bobcat traditions. We're going to run off the floor at halftime. Bill Nichols, that's him. You're going to hustle onto the floor after halftime. You're going to go through warm-ups really, really hard. Okay, he wants them sweating. These are all little things that happen within the Bobcat program that we're extremely proud of. Nobody's bigger than the program. Nobody. Okay, and we will have hard discussions with anybody that thinks they are. We will not let that go. That does not happen. Okay, and I don't mean that arrogantly. I don't mean that cocky. I just know that those kind of things can get you beat. Those little things will get you beat. The things that I'm most proud of, obviously, are any team championship. Yes, the individual awards, they really do not mean that much to me, and that's the honest to goodness truth. They used to when I wanted to climb the coaching ladder, but when I got to Radford High School, I wanted to be successful, but the coaching ladder didn't seem as important at that point in time as it used to be. I love the Saturday morning practices. I love snow days. We don't get to practice as much on snow days, and Jeff Smith will tell you how aggravated I get. I don't like a day off because I know that I got the gym to myself, and that's all those kids have to do. I love getting in on snow day. I love getting in on Saturdays. The day I quit being passionate about that stuff, my wife will tell you I drive her absolutely crazy when we can't practice. When we can't practice. Well, part of that is because when I was at Rocky Gap, okay, I had a four-wheel drive, and they never let you, they didn't tell you if you could have practice or not. They just didn't tell you. And I'd go get them all over the county, of Bang County. I'd go pick them up, and we'd have practice. 2 feet of snow. We never canceled games. I don't know what's happened to us. We never canceled games. We just put chains on buses. Coach T will tell you, some of you guys know, Coach Lindbergh knows this. Shoot, we put chains on cars and take them in cars. They didn't have front-wheel drive or four-wheel drive cars. They put chains on the back of those old station wagons, and we'd go. We'd go play. Now the road gets wet from rain, we don't play, or we don't practice. Okay, that's nobody's fault. I'm not blaming an administrator, but that stuff bothers me. That stuff bothers me. You know, if I ain't got a chance to get in and get somebody better, I'm miserable. Okay? Last night I told Coach Lindenberg, I'm getting ready to be done. I told Coach Lindenberg a little story last night, because Robert and I talk a lot, especially when there's a coaching change at RU, or getting ready to be one. And thanks for coming, Robert. But anyway, we talk a lot, and one time we were talking, and Coach, I think Coach kind of took this the wrong way, but this was a compliment, Coach. One time Robert and I were talking, and I think Brad Greenberg was leaving, and we were talking about who we thought, we were talking about coaching and coaching styles, and I said, Robert, I think sometimes these college coaches are making so much money that losing don't hurt them no more. Or they act like that losing a ball game doesn't bother them. Is that going to happen if, to people that is that what happens? Well, I don't, because believe it or not, I had to talk to one of his coaches, and right after he had lost, and I didn't think he was hurting. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Absolutely. I got to say, this is what I said to him. I said, Robert, this is the honest to goodness truth. When we lose, I cannot stand who I am. I cannot stand the person that I become. I'm not nice to Erica. I'm not nice to my kids. I'm not nice to anybody around me. I don't know what it is. And I know there's other competitors and there's people that hate to lose. I know everybody that competes hates to lose. But I hate who it turns me into. And when I was saying that to him, he was listening. And he said, and I said, the dog don't even like to see me come home after a loss. The dog don't even come around. And he said, are you kidding me? He said, I grew up in that. And I thought, yes, what a great compliment, because he taught all his boys about that drive that you have to have. And the drive that takes to be successful in whatever you do. And that was what, struck me about that comment. I was thinking I was the only person like that. He said, no, I grew up in that. Well, Hall of Fame and a lot of success. But Coach and I talked about that afterwards. You know what? Basketball being during Thanksgiving and Christmas holiday, I can't tell you how many Christmas tournaments have ruined my whole holiday. And you can fake it all you want to. You can act like you're having a good time. You can act like you're enjoying that present you just got. But if you just got your tail handed to you the night before or 2 nights before, you're miserable and you could care less about that. I have shaved, drove to school, and not even known I did either one of them. Because I'm thinking about what a stupid coaching decision I just made the night before, or how I'm going to deal with this kid that's not playing hard enough. And that's the honest to goodness truth. The coach knows that. And the wives that have to deal with that, oh my goodness. I'll leave you with this. The best comment that my wife, Erica, ever said to me was when we went 28-1 or 27-1? 27-1. We were undefeated, and we lost the last game to Gate City in that circus down there. We felt like we had a losing season. 27-1. That's where we are at here. Too bad, guys that are coming up. But that's where we're at. And I pouted around for about a week, and I didn't want to talk to nobody. I wasn't talking to Cam or Keeley or none of them. And finally, Erica looked at me and said, you know what? We're hurting too. You need to let us in on it. And that about knocked me for a loop because, yeah, that's how invested they are too. They're just as invested as we are. And I know Joanne Lindbergh was just as invested the whole time as Coach was. God bless you all. Thank you for this great honor. I love Radford. I love coaching these young people. Thanks for all you guys that have been great assistants. Thanks for all you great administrators. This is an awesome place. Thank you.
All right, everyone to the gymnasium for suicides, okay? Anyway, that concludes this year's induction ceremony for the 2021 class. Thank you all for being here. Thank everybody that's been watching on the internet, and God bless everybody. See you.